switch. They came through from Mariana. Our meeting with the board's finance got switched.
Good evening. I'd like to call the organizational meeting to order on December 8th, 2011. Before we begin the first order of business, which is the election of officers, I'd definitely like to welcome our new board members. Lori Rostein, Lars Rostein, Lars Schwinn, and Chris Finkelstein. You all have children in the school. You've been deeply involved in the school system up until now. You're now even more involved in the school system. You've gone through the orientation session. I think you've got a great foundation to proceed and a good understanding of the school system. So with that, what I would like to do is to begin to describe bylaw 9321, which is the election of officers, and I'll just read portions of it to give you a description of how it works and then how we will be doing the voting. So the board bylaw 9321 states the organizational meeting will be held within the first 15 days of December, and at this meeting shall be elected the board chair, the vice chair, and the secretary. The organizational meeting shall be called to order by the current chair, who will preside until the successor is chosen by a majority vote of members present and voting at the meeting. The election shall be in writing and recorded in the minutes of the meeting. If no chair is elected due to a tie vote, the current chair can call for nominations and subsequent votes can be taken. Should no candidate be selected by majority vote, the members present and voting at the meeting shall adjourn until current chair calls for another organizational meeting. I don't think that's a problem. If the chair, vice chair, and secretary is not elected by December 31st, 2011, the board selectmen shall appoint such officers from the board membership. The procedure we will follow for each position will be to first accept nominations. Each nomination requires a second, and I would add that the person who nominated, that the person nominated can second themselves, but cannot nominate themselves. When nominations cease, each of you has in your packet a little blue piece of paper. Print the name legibly of the individual you wish to vote for and pass it to your left. Molly will collect and count the votes and announce the winner. Then we'll move on to the next position. As chair, I now call for nominations for the board chair.
I would like to nominate Bruce Eichley.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Gil Bray.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations?
That's
That's true. Okay, the nomination cease. Please note on the card your selection.
Break up.
There are 3 votes for Mr. Likely, 2 votes for Mr. Ray, and 1 abstention.
So with that, with those present and voting, I would say that that is a majority. And Mr. Likely is the new board chair.
I would agree with you as the parliamentarian of this
Oh,
group.
thank you. So what we'll now do is change seats, and Mr. Likely will take over as chairman and move to the next position.
Thank you very much.
Where do you want me to move
We can just
to?
stay there.
Yeah.
I'd like to call for nominations for the vice chair. Not hearing any, I would like to nominate Mr. Bray as vice chair.
I'll second that.
Any others? Votes? You thought you were going to be vice chair, didn't you?
Yeah, it was. I'd like to vote occasionally.
Five votes for Mr. Bray and 1 abstention.
Mr. Bray, you are a new vice chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to call for nominations for secretary.
I would like to nominate Karen Burke.
I'd like to second that. Any others? Not quite sure why we got the full.
Yeah.
It's a confidentiality process.
And then 6 votes for Karen Burke.
Wonderful. Karen, congratulations.
Thanks, Bruce.
Next on
I
our,
think Gil and I should probably change seats.
go for it.
You want to change seats? Just, it's tradition. We should take one chair away.
Some music. Okay, our next order of business in the, and I'll apologize, not having been through this, if I make mistakes, I would ask the two of you to please help bail me out. We have the consent agenda where we have the appointment of the counsel to the board, the appointment of the medical advisor, designation of signatories, and authorization of the superintendent to attend meetings. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Wonderful. We also
Do we
have,
need to vote on it?
Vote.
do we need to vote on?
Yes.
There we go. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Approval of the 2012 meeting date calendar. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at that? Are there any questions on it? Do I have a motion to accept it?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of the format of board agendas. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at that?
Yes.
Any questions on it? One of the things that I'd like to point out in the board agenda is there's a section for comments from the public. And this is to ensure that the public's right to be heard is recognized by the Board of Education. We intentionally set aside time at the beginning and the end of every meeting so that the town can be heard. We allot 2 minutes to each speaker and 15 minutes to every topic. It's important to us that we hear from the town, that we hear from the staff, and we hear from interested parties. We're encouraging you to take the time to come in and speak to us during these sessions. The first portion of the meeting will be focused on past board business and matters on the agenda for this meeting. At the end of the meeting, we'll have another opportunity for public comment. Any questions? Motion to accept?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful, thank you. We also have 2 pieces of information in the packet. So everybody had a chance to take a look at those procedures for effective board meetings, routine agenda items. Are there any questions on those? Okay. Can I ask for a motion to adjourn to the regular meeting?
So moved.
So, second?
You second?
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you very much. I'm now calling to order the December 8th meeting of the Wilton Board of Education. We have an opportunity for comments from the public. Does anybody?
Review and approve the agenda.
Thank you. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda?
It's okay.
Any questions on it?
No.
Can I have a motion to approve it?
So moved.
Wonderful. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, at this point, we would like comments from the public if anybody is so interested in today's agenda or past items. Not seeing any, I'd like to move forward to the consent agenda, minutes for the November 22nd meeting, and recommended personnel changes. Has everybody had a chance to look at those? No questions? Motion to approve? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Wonderful. Reports and recognition. I'd like to take a few minutes, first off, to say I'm honored. I greatly appreciate the opportunity that's been put in front of me. I recognize that there was a lot of effort put forth by Mr. Bray over the last 2 years. I greatly appreciate your dedication and focus. I'm going to look to you and to Karen. I feel very fortunate that you've both been past chairs, and ask for your assistance in making this coming year as smooth as possible. Additionally, I have a couple of other comments. Hopefully I'll find them here. If not, I will pull them up at the end of the day. Gary, I look forward to working with you and your staff in the coming year. And in my new capacity, I know that we'll be navigating the evolution of the strategic plan and continue our work to better the position of Wilton going forward. I have 2 changes I'd like to implement immediately and 2 requests that I'd like to make. First, going forward, I'd like to make all seats at the board table on a first-come, first-served basis. Now that means that when you come into the room, Molly will have your name tags at the table as well as your binders, and I'd ask you to pick them up. The only exception would be the board or the acting board position, because it needs to be in the center. Now the reason that I'm doing this is I'm looking to have people have varying perspectives during board meetings. Sit next to different people. Get to know different people. I'm going to appreciate the opportunity to sit next to you right now, but I'd also like Lori to have that opportunity, Laura to have that opportunity, Karen and Gil to have that opportunity, and for all of us to get to know each other. And that's why I'm doing it. I want us to have a different perspective. If it doesn't work, I am more than happy to change it going down the road, but starting with the next meeting, I'd like to do that. Secondly, I'd like to revisit all Board of Education committee and subcommittee assignments with a goal of taking a fresh look at our areas of focus. If there is a committee or board member that has had and continues to have need for formal board representation, please bring that to my attention. Additionally, if there are new subcommittees that Board of Education members, district employees, or members of the community wish to form, I will be open to doing so. Board of Education recognized subcommittees will be established based on the following criteria, which are subject to change, and I'm looking for input. To start, a Board of Education member performing the duties of sponsor, an active participant of subcommittee, and as primary spokesperson for reporting progress back to the board. Secondly, demonstrated diverse subcommittee membership that actively seeks to include and takes into consideration a wide array of perspectives and points of view. Third, includes members of the administration, staff, student body, parents, and members of the community. Clearly defined set of goals and objectives, a methodology for accomplishing those goals and objectives that does not place unrealistic requirements on the resources of the board, the district, or the town. A clearly defined time frame to accomplish those goals and objectives, with less than 6 months being ideal. And finally, actionable recommendations which will be presented to the board for consideration and will not strain the resources of the town and or the district to implement, should the majority of the Board of Education vote and agree to do so. Now, the two requests that I have: first, I'd like to ask each of you to actively embrace a role in Wilton as the eyes and ears of the Board of Education. Actively seek perspectives on what the town, parents, students, and district employees see as working well and benefiting from further understanding or evaluation. Please remember that the board members do not have any rights or powers beyond those given by the board when the board is in session, but know that this board wants to hear what you see and hear. Secondly, I'd like to ask the citizens of Wilton to continue their passionate involvement in the schools and look to communicate with us more frequently. Please use the Board of Education email. Come speak to us at our meetings and seek either myself or Board of Education members out to share your insights. We need to hear what you have to say, and I want you to know that you're being heard. However, please understand that because of the Connecticut Freedom of Information Act and the board's need to give prior notice on topics being discussed at board meetings, and our primary role as a policymaker, not district administrators, we may not be in a position to address your comments as you make them. Regardless, rest assured that your comments are being heard and will be addressed in an appropriate manner. Should anyone feel the need for conversation regarding specific individuals, please know that this is not the appropriate venue for doing so. I'll make the subcommittee criteria available to everybody. I have copies here. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm thrilled to be in this role. I'm thrilled to work with each of you in a collaborative fashion and look forward to a very exciting and rewarding 2011-2012. Gary?
Good evening. Couple of items. One, as some of you know, the Wilton High School academic challenge team appeared in their first match recently. Was on Cablevision, MSG, and that's I guess channels 14 and 714. And our squad, I'm told, handily defeated Brian McMahon High School's team. Haven't seen that. We've got a copy of the broadcast, so I'm looking forward to watching it. And I'm told today that our team will be proceeding to round 2 in the challenge, which will be taped on February 15th, and if they prevail in that round, later that day they will tape round 3. The team members, and again, it's a terrific team of young people: Simon Brewer, Mohsin Jawed, Will Jankowski, Molly Hoke, and Jack Jankowski. And our thanks to the faculty who've known and worked with these young people, and were able to see firsthand some of the fruits of their labors, and as well as the hard work of the students as they compete in these competitions. Special thanks to Terry Ragazzini, who's our academic coach at the high school here. She works here in the Library Media Center. And on a related note, I was talking to her this morning. She said that She will be accompanying 2 teams from the high school who are going to participate in a history bowl. So we have an academic bowl team, or academic challenge, and a history bowl this weekend at White Plains High School. There's a varsity team and a JV team. We're deep here. The varsity team comprised of Simon Brewer, Kenny Sheffers, Philip Saper, and Peter Jensen, and a JV team including some of the younger siblings of these people, Jeremy Brewer, Ben Stites, Cassidy Haas, and Dominic Sheffers. So we wish them all the luck in the History Bowl coming up. Second note, I think the board's aware of it, but I wanted the public to be aware that the Wilton Arts Programs, our district arts programs, Fine and Performing Arts Program, has been honored by the Connecticut Arts Administrators Association, and they've been given this organization's Award of Excellence. As you know, the arts are an important component of the core of our academic program, and we really are very proud of the work that our professionals do in this area. We will have them come to some of the instructional leaders to the board in February to give a more formal recognition of this terrific honor. And then finally, another honor. We've learned that I received a letter last week, one of our high school language teachers, Dr. Anna Zobler, has earned national board certification. This is a huge accomplishment. There are very, very few people in the United States who have gotten national certification. So we would like to invite her again to come before the board and receive your recognition for her achievement. So that's a terrific accomplishment. It's an incredible amount of work to become nationally certified.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much. Are there any committee reports?
I have 2. I'm a member of the Miller Driscoll Steering Committee, and next week the Council on Public Facilities will be meeting to review the Statement of Requirements. It'll be their first look. And as the liaison to the Energy Commission, we are going to have Dave Valerie of Strategic Building Systems. He will present to the Energy Commission the energy management plan that his firm has drawn up for the town of Wilton. So we'll be seeing that next, well, I won't be because I'll be here, but the rest of the Energy Commission will.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Any others?
Yes, the pension and OPEB boards of trustees have met and for the selection potentially of a new investment advisor. And I won't say any more at this point.
Thank you. Are there any others? Well, at this point in the agenda, we have the opportunity to have Matt Hepford come up, who is our Director of Technology, to give us the technology report.
Good evening. I'd like to start by welcoming the new members. I've met a few of you, and those of you I haven't met, I've heard great things about. I'd also like to take this opportunity to, we have some guests in the building, and some of you know them because you have children in the schools. There are instructional leaders for technology. Over in the corner is Brian Ennis, instructional leader for Miller Driscoll. Nick Taylor is the instructional leader for Cider Middle School. Amy Korn's the instructional leader for Wilton High School. And Tim Lai is the instructional leader for Middlebrook School. And you know, all the work that you're going to see, the real groundwork is done by this terrific group of teachers. They're not only excellent teachers, but they are really exceptional leaders for technology in the schools, and they really drive forward our program. So I'm really proud to have them working with me and working alongside me, and we should be proud to have educators like these working in the schools. So they're here to support us, so I just wanted to start by recognizing them. For the purpose of the new board members, I just want to kind of give a little overview of what the Fall Tech Report is all about. I start, and the bulk of the report really is the where we are, where we are right now, kind of in the midpoint of the school year. And then we're going to talk about our needs, which is kind of the middle portion of the report. And then towards the end is what we're planning for. And that kind of leads into, obviously, next Thursday's discussion with the budget. So that's kind of the framework of the Fall Tech Report. So we'll start, and we're going to hear some clips and get you really the ground level view of what's going on with technology in the schools. At Miller and Driscoll, I want to kind of start by pointing out that because of the budget all of the development projects for the schools were cut out of the budget last year, with the exception of the World Language Lab at the high school. So a lot of this work is done because of the generosity of Wilton Education Foundation and the PTA. But the work still went on, and there's really some exciting things, and you're going to hear from some teachers, and you'll even see some demonstrations.
Hello, my name is Brian Ennis. I'm the Technology Instructional Leader here at Miller Driscoll. I'm also the first grade teacher. I'd just like to give a little update on technology in Miller Driscoll. Our main focus this year has been installation of smartboards and professional development. This year we have 100% of our classrooms with a smartboard, and we still need 3 smartboards to be installed. Thanks to the generosity of the Wilton Education Foundation, we've had 2 teachers per grade level get advanced training in smart board lesson development. In addition to the training, we've had the opportunity to collaborate and share our resources on the Smartboard. And this is one of our lessons that we've shared and developed as a group. This goes along with our Foundations program. It has all the letters and sounds, and actually I added my voice into these letters so when a student could come up and drag it into a box, they can actually tap out their sounds. And this is on the teacher folder. We share this across all grade levels in our building. And now I'm going to introduce Kim Hastings, a first grade teacher at Miller Driscoll as well. And she's going to talk to you a little bit about how the Smartboard and technology has changed the educational environment in her classroom.
Hi, I'm Kim Hastings, and I'm a first grade teacher at Miller Driscoll, and this is my second year teaching at Miller Driscoll. When I first started last year, I took over for Lauren Feltz, and I was a bit intimidated by the Smartboard, but after a year using it, I feel much more comfortable, and I'm developing a lot more lessons with the Smartboard. I use it during spelling, during her math, her morning meetings, and in writing. I really use it across the curriculum, even in reading as well. It's a great way to get the children's writing up on the screen so that we can look at a lot of their writing, what they're doing great at, and how we can revise it as well. I also find it a great tool to use during math time so that we can get the children more involved with their with the lesson. We're able to come up, and it's a wonderful hands-on tool for the children to use. Thanks to the generosity of WEP, I was able to attend the Smart Certified Lesson Developer Training, and I feel more comfortable helping other teachers out as well. I find that teachers are coming to me asking for help related to Smartboard issues, and we're able to share a lot more. So I've learned some wonderful techniques and some shortcuts to a lot of the Smartboard, or the makeup of the Smartboard. I'm going to show a demonstration on how the Smartboard can be interactive in math. Come on up, my helper Virginia. Let's take a look, Virginia, right now at our coins. How many pennies do we have? Can you count? Can you count them? Excellent. Can we make a trade there? What can we do? What can we trade? How many pennies? Think about this. How many pennies can we trade? When are we going to make a trade? We want to carry all those pennies around. What's an easier way that we can carry money around? Yes, we're going to use what? See? What is that?
A nickel.
A nickel. So we're going to trade in what? For a nickel. Okay. So now we have
Just like euros for dollars. We have a buddy.
I will tell you that I filmed that on Friday in the afternoon after school ended, and Mrs. Hastings was very tired. And her helper was so excited about doing math on the Smartboard that she asked if they could stay longer and keep doing math problems. And so they stayed another 15 minutes or so while I was packing up my stuff. So I appreciate that. Next we hear from Nick Taylor. One of the real nice things you see when you go in to Cider Mill is the level of collaboration that goes on with the teachers there. And what Nick's been able to do is get teachers to work and share, use the network storage there and share lessons. And so when one third grade teacher does a great science lesson, they share it among all the third grade teachers. So here's Nick Taylor.
Hi, I'm Nick Taylor, the Instructional Leader for Cider Mill School, and I'm also a third grade teacher here. And there's some exciting things going on with technology I wanted to talk to you about. The first has to do with our Edline website that we've been using. Cider Mill has really embraced using a number of different features in our second year with the website. One of them being this summer we sent out our placement through Edline, where parents and students were able to log into their Edline accounts to see their new classroom teacher and look at that new classroom teacher's website. Partly because of that, and really having teachers put up a number of student resources on their websites, including videos for students to look at. We have 94% of our parents activated and 100% of our students are activated here at Cider Mill, and which is great. It has allowed us to provide a number of different resources for our students, and it also allows us to send out parent and student notifications through email on the website, and allows us to communicate with our school as a whole that way. One of the great things that has also gone along with Edline has been the use of our sound fields, which I'm wearing the microphone for, because this allows me as the classroom teacher to record my voice while teaching in a lesson in conjunction with the Smartboard. So as I record my voice, I can also record the movements that are on the board. Later on after the lesson, quickly upload that to the website, and my students can have a short little video clip of the lesson that they heard during the school day when they go home that night to reinforce the skills or to support them with their homework. With the Smartboard, we've had a lot of exciting things going on this year. The teachers have really embraced the Smartboard at Cider Mill School and have really started to collaborate and do a lot of sharing of resources and lessons. And the ways that we've been doing that have been meeting as grade levels, where we've actually had teachers modeling and demonstrating things that have been working for them. And we've also been using our teacher share drives to have teachers upload lessons and upload materials that they've been using with their classes on the Smartboard so that the grade level can use it, and then that allows teachers to have more access to more materials. We were really lucky this fall to also be able to send 6 teachers, 2 from each grade level, to become SMART certified lesson developers. The training took place at CES with some trainers from SMART, which has been a great opportunity. These teachers have been able to come back and share what they've learned with their grade level colleagues in order to help make the Smartboard more interactive for the students in order to help improve student learning.
Tim Lai took over for Stephen Duray, who was an excellent instructional leader. And sometimes it's hard to be the next guy after you've had someone who's been there for a while. And Tim really hit the ground running, starting with coming to a conference with a group of us in Philadelphia. He's done an exceptional job. He's organized. You can see that the teachers respect him and go to him with their technology issues. And he's been sort of the point person for a big change at Middlebrook, which is the opening of Parent Portal for grades for Power School. So he's going to talk a little bit about that. He's also going to talk about picking up with the efforts that they've been doing at Middlebrook to further our information technology literacy standards. We call them WITLs. It's Wilton Information Technology Literacy Standards. And he really picked up the ball running there and using that to drive some professional development. So I'll let Tim do this one.
Hello, my name is Tim Lai. I'm the Instructional Leader of Technology for Middlebrook School. I'm also an 8th grade U.S. Social Studies teacher on the team 8th grade. I'm here to talk to you today about a few things technology related at Middlebrook, one of which is the Power School Parent Portal. The Parent Portal is a new tool open this year. It's an element of Power School. Power School is our grade book that all the teachers use to put their assignments up online. For each individual assignment, each student shows what score they earned. It's also a place where teachers can enter comments for each individual assignment, saying why a student earned a particular score. We've been using PowerSchool for 2 years now to enter our grades, but the new element this year is the parent portal, and that offers parents an opportunity to, through the PowerSchool webpage, to look at their students' online gradebook, and they can go onto the home computers, see how their students are doing each of their classes. They can set it up to receive weekly email updates of how they're doing in each of their courses. And it's a great communication tool between teachers and parents where they can see how they're performing and then contact teachers about any concerns that may arise or questions about their grades. Another development in technology in Middlebrook that I'd like to highlight is our WITLS reports. WITLS is our Wilton Information and Technology and Literacy Standards. They're based off of ISTE's NET, so essentially they're 21st century skills and standards that we want our students to learn, like creativity and communication, collaboration, critical thinking, digital citizenship. This is an example of a WITLS report that was filled out by me the previous year, and all the teachers, we each fill out our own individual WITLS reports. And this one is for creativity and innovation, just one particular page in which a teacher would identify creativity and communication occurring in their classroom, physical communication, collaboration, and it continues for the various standards that we have here. And it's a great way for teachers to reflect on how they're incorporating both technology and critical thinking skills and 21st century skills in their classroom. And it's a good way for us to all share that and how that's going on. In terms of professional development, we do like to look at these little reports that the teachers have filled out to determine what professional development needs are most important to meet in a particular year. One way that we did that is using Edline. In Middlebrook, we created a WITLS survey in which teachers reflected on which WITLS skills, whether it's creativity and innovation, communication, research, information fluency, critical thinking, information technology citizenship, or technology operations and concepts, that they wanted to see more support in and more professional development opportunities for. So they filled out a survey identifying particular strands, gave some suggestions for how they would like these workshops to be, whether they're hands-on or lectures or meeting with their teams or departments. And what we've done is we've summarized the findings from this survey to find really what it is that teachers were looking for, which strands, such as turned out strand 1 and strand 2, that they'd most like to see professional development for. And this is going to inform our 2 technology in-house professional development sessions that we're going to be having in Middlebrook this year. So just another element in how these WITLS reports are helping to make further changes within our district.
Earlier, Nick talked about how you use that software to record your lesson. Amy Korn has used that so she could demonstrate WHS apps. We use the Google platform, but it's branded by us, so it has our own name, so it doesn't say Google in the name. And we'll hear from Amy Korn.
Good evening, I'm Amy Korn, the Technology Instructional Leader at the high school. I'm just here to show you a little bit about WHS apps, which we recently launched at the high school during the week of Thanksgiving. A letter went home to all of our students with their report card about this new application that we're offering our students through Google. If you go to the high school homepage, there's a link under quick links for WHS apps. And then our students log in. Their login is simply their login to the computer at the school at wiltonhs.com. So we all have official Wilton High School email addresses to use for college and other purposes. So our students all have a Google email account now, as I said, tied into Wilton High School, and they also have use of Google Docs, which is a really wonderful tool. Here's just some examples of some documents that I've created with my own students. I have my computer application students this week work on a contract for 2 businesses that are going to be working together. So as you can see, both students can type in the document at the same time. And I can also look the group project at who's doing what as far as work goes. So it'll outline for me over here. You can see who did which piece of the project, so give me a little bit more control as a teacher. So that's just a little bit about the product. We look forward to launching it further and learning more about its different uses throughout the school. And here's Veronica to talk to you a little bit about our new World Language Lab that we're very excited about. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Veronica Hernandez, Spanish teacher at Wilton High School. And I'm just talking about, and I just wanted to tell you about our new lab, Virtuoso, which we're very happy about. Some of the activities that we do at the lab, which we love to do, is text messaging and recording dialogues. One of the features that we like the most is having the students communicate with each other through the headphones, but in a spontaneous way. They don't prepare a dialogue beforehand, they just create a dialogue on the spot spontaneously, which is the ultimate goal for languages. I can show you one sample that we're going to be doing today. We show them a series of pictures, and then we can actually send this screen to the students. They will see the images, and all they will have is a partner, an image, and they will pretend they're one of the characters in one of the pictures that they choose. Another thing that we had during professional development was training for the lab. It was really good because it showed us how to record questions for the students based on whatever context we're using. So that's one of the things that we plan to do next, record with our own voices questions that make sense to students, and that way they can listen to them in their booths and use however much time they need, and which means work at their own pace. So that's another feature that we really like.
In terms of special education, again, their projects were cut out, but Anne and her team really continue to do some really exceptional work, driving us forward. A really good example of this is the increase that we've seen, a pretty steep increase in the number of iPads used in the special education field. And what we're finding is when we use it as a communication device, the cost, even the high-end iPad is maybe $700. A communication device is about $7,000. The communication device does only communication. The iPad can do the communication plus every other app, apps for special ed, apps for regular ed, even just the excitement of the student having that tool. So you see how we've really found a cost-effective way and a really engaging way to support our special needs students. In terms of staff development, there's a lot of excitement. I guess I probably should have put this in chronological order, which would start with the ISTE conference, which happened at the end of June. It was in Philadelphia, and we took a team. Nick and Tim and one of the library media specialists from the high school joined me, and it was really an exceptional, it's the premier conference for educational technology in the world, and it really was. We had an outstanding time and really learned a lot, and were able to bring a lot of those ideas back to the school system. The Wilton Tech Institute, this year, because of the number of snow days last year, we had to bump back to August this year, and it actually worked out better. A lot of teachers really decided to come in on their own time that week before school started and take courses. We more than doubled our enrollment, and it was really nice to see them really engaged. Because when you take a professional development class right before school starts, you're going to use it right when you get back. So it was nice to see, and we're thinking about maybe doing that again this year, have the Tech Institute in August. On our district-wide staff development day, again, a very strong technology focus. 58% of the course offerings were in technology or related to technology. They're online free speech or cyberbullying and social networking. In addition to our staff development that we have in conjunction with our budget and the school system, WEF was very generous, and you heard some of the teachers talking about it, in sponsoring advanced Smartboard training. And we held it at 2 full days at CES in Trumbull, and we had a professional come from Smart Tech, and it was really exceptional training. It was a terrific model. I learned about teaching, how to teach adults in watching the way the smart people ran, and we really learned a lot. And as you can see here, this is Laura Giovanetti. She's one of the recipients of the WEF grant, and on November 8th, she went and trained 22 teachers, a full lab of teachers, everything that she learned in that day. So not only did she learn it, but she gave it back right away and really spread out that knowledge. Here you see Skip Kloss, he's our district webmaster, training people in Edline and making sure we get the most out of that. You see how important that has become. It's a big part of our strategic plan. And here is Chip Howe. As you know, our one investment in technology from the budget was the World Language Lab. And Chip he's an exceptional staff developer, and the world language teachers are really excited when he comes in. It's very practical, they can really apply it right away. Speaking of Edline, November 9th marked our 1-year anniversary of the launch of Edline, and we have continued to offer kind of varied levels of staff development, really to kind of push everyone to use the most of Edline, to really use those interactive features if you're a teacher. We've been eliciting feedback. I met with the PTA presidents to get some feedback from them, and we took the feedback from the PTA presidents and made some kind of immediate changes. And we're looking probably in the first, after the holidays are over, we're sending out a survey and gathering a little bit more information. But we've I'm going to let Skip Kloss, our district webmaster, talk about some of the
Good evening, this is Skip Kloss, district webmaster for Wilton Public Schools, and I wanted to show you the first of a series of updates and adjustments you will see to the district websites over the coming months. The first change is how the websites will look. We have learned a lot as a team this first year of deployment and have been fortunate to have an active and vocal user base. The following changes are based on feedback provided by students, parents, and staff. First, this is what we have now, which was created for us as part of our rollout last year. Now this is what we're moving toward across the district. As you can see, the slide shows height, and the height of both the header and navigational menus have been reduced to pull the content up into view on most screens without the need for scrolling. The page width has also been increased, also with the goal of presenting the most information to the user when the page is loaded. The addition of a district announcement banner and district announcement box allows for the rapid publishing of emergency announcements across all district websites. The replacement of the existing banner, which was created using specific software, with a new Edline feature called Slideshow, allows us to have banners that can change rapidly and often. Over the next few weeks, you will see this on all district websites. In the future, we'll be tweaking menus themselves and be making other improvements and changes as we continue the dialogue with the district's website users. Thank you. Good evening, this is Skip Kloss.
I will tell you, Skip is a Wilton resident and just a terrific asset to our entire website committee team and to the district. And we'll talk about dedication. He lost power for the hurricane, and he lost power for the snowstorm, but he still updated. Whether he had to go and take a computer down to Starbucks or the library, or if he did it on his phone, he made sure that if Dr. Richards needed an emergency message posted, he would get it done. And we're real pleased to have him as part of our team. As we talked about earlier, we've already mentioned that the parent portal has been extended and opened in Middlebrook. Another important piece when we talk about administrative kind of out of the classroom is that with the new bullying policy, we really need to make sure that we are concentrating and understanding about cyberbullying and social networking, because these are going to become critical parts. As you know, the law has changed, and we really have to stay on top of this. On Staff Development Day, we had State's Attorney Rich Colangelo and Sergeant Burdecki from the Weston Police Department come in, and they really gave us a really eye-opening presentation on what the current kind of threats are with cyberbullying and social networking, and just give us, you know, a usable message that we can take to parents and students. And we're hoping, we're planning on getting them back in the winter to do some parent coffees here, and we're looking really to get their message out to the community as well. In addition, Rich Ross and I will again have our yearly presentation to the freshman class. This year we'll be also reinforcing our message to the sophomore class. And again, the message is we really answer their questions about the computer, cyber safety, what can I do, will I get in trouble? They ask very interesting questions sometimes. Rich and I enjoy speaking with them, and they are always very forthcoming with their thoughts. In terms of planning, as you know, we're planning our projects. Our projects really are centered around the strategic plan. The concept that the instructional leaders and the buildings, as they build their projects, are really built around equipping the classrooms for the 21st century, and the idea of really having that equitable access to make sure that we are following the plan that we've set out to make sure that every student has equal access to the technology. An exciting development in planning is that this is the year that we have to build our next 3-year plan. And we have already done a tremendous amount of work. We've had student focus groups at Cider Mill, Middlebrook, and the high school, and teacher focus groups everywhere except for Millard Driscoll, which will be next Thursday morning. I've been informed I have to bring coffee. And really, they give valuable information to us, and it really will help us shape where we need to go, what their frustrations are, what success is, what success looks like. And we really have a great team to build this plan. The Tech Advisory Committee had our meeting last week, or on the 29th, and they weighed in with their ideas, and they brainstormed some ideas. And it's a real nice collaborative effort. We're getting a lot of voices and a lot of opinions, a lot of stakeholders building this plan together. In terms of infrastructure, we didn't have any major projects this year, but we did, with the hurricane and the snowfall and the power outages, we had the server that housed our firewall met an untimely death. Now, we were able to move all that equipment over to a stable server, but our plan is this winter to replace it with a new one, because it did lead to a day of network and internet outage, which you just cannot have in the school system. So we're planning to do that over the winter. In addition, we've been noticing that we weren't really getting optimal logins. We're getting 2 or 3 minute logins, sometimes more, especially at the high school. So we hired a company to come offer some professional development for our high level technical staff, our network engineer and our data systems analyst. And they said it was the best professional development they've had in 15 years. They said this guy was a real pro. Our login times sped up 10 times what they were. So now the average login time is something like 15 to 30 seconds, where it was 2 or 3 minutes. And imagine instructional time if you're bringing a whole group of kids into a lab and you're waiting 3 minutes for everyone to log in. So we're real excited. They were here working again today. This was the second day of that professional development. So there could be a couple more tweaks. They found some things that they think can optimize our network better. The other thing is, this was our first year of deploying Windows 7. You'll hear a little bit more when we talk about computer needs. And it led to a little bit of a challenging deployment, but you'll understand our plan as we get through into the needs assessment. So now we're getting this section we kind of talk about, well, based on where we are, what are our needs? As we are thinking about our needs, we always try and understand that the way technology is used in the schools today is an integrated approach. We don't teach a technology course. You don't go to the computer lab and take computers. When you go to the computer lab, you are working on a project that is tied into the curriculum, and you're using that technology as part of, integrated within the curriculum. And those are based on our Wilton Information Technology Literacy Standards. an important component to that is the need for staff development. We really need to make sure that in order to do that well, to get that integration well, you need the staff development. Sometimes it's just in time staff development. In a case where we launched a new website, we needed to get everyone to be able to use that website right away. Obviously, everything is built upon the frame of the strategic plan. When you look at individual school needs, you'll see the level to which we have a K-12 plan, because if you watch these needs over the years, Smartboard use is something where it's been a need for a few years. We want to not only expand the amount of Smartboards, but expand the professional development and optimize our use. But what you're going to notice is that as we move along, new needs emerge. In this case, the product that we are using, the technology we're using to monitor our scientific research-based interventions, SRBI plan. We're at a point now where we're going to be needing to really make sure that every teacher is able to log on to the tool and use the tool and understand how their student data works, look at their whole class, look at those students that are not succeeding and find a way to intervene and make sure that they are brought up to speed quickly. So obviously that is a need. That's more of a staff development need, but obviously you need to make sure you have useful, workable computers in every classroom for them to be able to use these tools. For the benefit of the new board members, this chart is our computer replacement cycle. So what it shows is the year that we deployed the computer, and so this one really is a projection this year right here. So that is our projection for the reason we're saying we need to replace these is the 2008-9, this chart, if we extend the chart up here, the 2008-9 computers are coming off a warranty. And we found that the best practices is when they've come out of warranty, we've really used up the life of those computers, and it's best to refresh and keep our 4-year-old cycle. The other thing I'd like to just understand about this chart, and I mentioned it earlier, is that we did not deploy unilaterally Windows 7 as an operating system. There's a couple of reasons we didn't do this. So we have it this year, and we're projecting to do it next year. The reason is we found some equipment that only runs on XP machines. And so if we did it unilaterally, we'd have to also replace all of that equipment. So now we can kind of phase out some of that equipment. There's also some software that we'll have to phase out. So if we do it in a phased-in approach, we can also phase in some of those other things that we'll need to replace. So where are we headed? Where are we headed in terms of infrastructure, in terms of teaching and learning, and in terms of professional learning? In terms of our infrastructure, because we've entered into the lease program for our major networking equipment, and because we've been keeping up with our cycle of replacing servers, we really have no major networking projects. We're going to continue managing our own computer deployment because we found that we do it cheaper and we do it on time, and those are really the two critical things for us. One, saving money, and two, we're able to get it done so that when the teachers come back to school, all 368 computers are plugged in, ready to go, turn them on, and start teaching. A real exciting development that's happened since last spring is a joint fiber project with the town and library. And I'll try and be brief about the history of this, and I don't know how much you've been following the Board of Selectmen minutes, but I'm guessing not by the looks I'm getting. The town was opening up. The town was opening up the sidewalks to do a curbing project, and Yankee Gas decided that it was time to bring Wilton into the gas age and offer gas. So they decided that they were going to run gas literally right through town and right through the middle of where all the schools go. in conjunction with that, we were doing a sewer project that brought the sewer line, they were going to open up the road all the way up to Miller Driscoll. So we had sort of this perfect opportunity to connect the town, the library, and the schools. And we all chipped in to have BVH do a study for how we could fund this as a capital project, or what cost estimates for. We have a meeting on Monday to find out, kind of do our final plans for it. But the Board of Selectmen were really excited about the opportunity, because you don't open up the roads very often, and having the conduit in there and then putting fiber allows us to share resources, allows us to have an affordable backup solution, where we could have a backup server at the library. So if something really catastrophic happened to our equipment here, our computer network would just transfer over to a server housed in the library. So it's exciting work. We're really kind of right at the beginning stages of it, really at the very planning stages. So I'll look forward to being able to update you on that soon. In terms of the planning and the projects you'll expect to see next Thursday, we are planning on replacing the outdated computers that will come off lease. We're planning on equipping classrooms with 21st century equipment, and the idea really of ensuring that equitable access to the technology. Wireless at the high school, it's been a topic at the board table for quite a long time. We have about 25 to 30% of the high school wireless now with certain hotspots. We'd like to complete the project and make it wireless, so we are, really matching what the typical Connecticut high school has right now. And we'd also like to really live up to the spirit of the strategic plan and pilot some innovative technology to make sure that we are not just catching up or not just keeping up, but that we're really trying to pilot some real innovative work. In terms of professional learning, we want to continue the work we've done with the Tech Institute, especially the Summer Institute. As we mentioned before, because we're planning on using RTI Studio for our SRBI, we're going to continue to offer that staff development. Obviously, Edline is an important part of our strategic plan, and we want to make sure that teachers and other staff members are getting the most of it. And we want to continue offering that technical training to make sure that our technicians, both at the building level and the senior level in central office, really are keeping up to speed with all this emerging technology. We will be holding a Tech Expo. We're just trying to nail down the dates right now. We're planning on either late March or early April. It'll be held at Middlebrook. I believe we're going to try and keep the format similar. We're thinking about having a section on innovation where kids, almost like a science fair, can bring in a real innovative project, maybe outside of what they do in school. So get an idea of showcasing the talents of some of our young people. And that's it. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Fantastic.
Planning right now, I'm sure the instructional leaders can talk a little bit more about it, but we've run into some problems with the virtual machines, that they don't run all of the software that we need, and we've had just some hiccups with running the actual software. And if you've got them in a lab and you got a whole class full of kids there and you run into a problem, it pulls away from instructional time. So we're going to try and improve on what we do with it and make sure we're keeping up with maintaining what we have, but we're not planning on virtualizing anymore.
The person that used to sit in that seat, Karen, would have asked about laptops.
I know. And
That's where I thought you were going.
I can ask a laptop question too. Do you have a sense of how many kids bring their own iPads or Blackberries or iPhones or laptops into the building? and access
I
the
can't get-
wireless network in this building.
I will tell you, it is significant. I can't give you a number, but my office is right by the library, so I see it all the time. In fact, I see kids sometimes before school sitting outside my office with the laptop in their lap, accessing the wireless, doing the work. Amy?
Increasing significantly. I know a number of students said that they want them for Christmas, things of that nature.
Yeah, I asked because one of the workshops that I went to at the Capes and Caps convention was talking about if you invite them to bring their own devices, they will. And they were talking about being able to phase out, in theory, over time, the purchase of computers, or the purchase of as many computers.
Yeah.
And in fact, maybe if the school were buying laptops, they could give them to a student to use for 4 years. And the experience apparently has been that when you do that, the kids really take care of the laptop as if it's their own.
Yeah, I know I'm planning on, I spoke with the tech coordinator in Brookfield. I know they have a big iPad, they gave up iPads to every freshman instead of buying textbooks. So I'm planning on visiting them and investigating that. It's, you know, there's I guess that I struggle with coming close to mandating that people have to buy computers or have to bring them. I know, and I also know that, you know, we're getting to an era where the testing, our statewide testing, is going to be on computers, and we're going to need to make sure we have enough computers and up-to-date computers and functioning computers and a robust network to be able to handle that. And right now, the state has demonstrated that they can't handle it right now because the example that, you know, when they tried to do it in May, many schools crashed, not because of the school's infrastructure, the state servers couldn't handle it. So, you know, I guess I'm a little cautious about going there right away. I want to make sure we get the wireless first, and also I want to make sure that we have to find out where we're going to land with this statewide testing, and how many computers and how many labs we're going to need.
I saw that you, the high school business classes are using iPads.
Yes.
About how many kids is that, and how has that been working out? So is this the first year with that?
Well, this is the first year we've had a sort of a significant number of them. Last year we had, I think, 2. Amy, how many kids are using the iPads?
I have 8 right now. I have 10 that are coming in. And they're being used in an accounting class and my computer courses.
So three courses?
About 3, yeah.
3 courses.
And the school purchased them? They're not
The Perkins grant. They were purchased through the Perkins grant.
I don't know if this is an appropriate technology question. It may be more of a curriculum question, but where are we with respect to the curriculum mapping that's being done?
Well, one of the things, we've been a little bit slowed by budget because you're only allowed to have a certain number of licensed mappers. So we've kind of had teams collaborate and have one person be the person logging in and typing. I believe social studies is complete and science is almost complete. And you'd have to ask Mr. Canty, who is next on the mapping list. But it is coming along, and we're excited that Whittles now is incorporated into that equipment. So our instructional leaders are working with the mapping teams to help them understand how to incorporate those things into the unit maps.
With the outage on the servers that put the district out for a day, do we have any redundancy, and should we be looking at that? So when one server goes down, it moves over to the
well, we don't have redundancy for the firewall, and I'd have to talk to
was it the firewall?
Yeah, I'd have to talk to our network engineer. I think that would be fairly expensive. It's, you know, it was one of the, it was a, I think part of it was that when CL&P brought the power back, I'm not sure that they were giving us a full amount of juice, and so it wasn't getting a full enough power to fully bring it back up, so it kept coming up, and it was our network engineer stayed here till 11:30 at night to make sure that we were up the next day. So I'm grateful for the work he did, and we'll be purchasing a stable piece of equipment. It's not a typical thing that happens. I don't think 2 storms that take us out of power for a week are normal events either.
On the 3-year plan that you're going to be developing, what trends do you see that are different from the last one, since you've been going to all of the different schools?
I think
emerging?
I think we're going to be using technology for tracking student progress, online assessments, in addition to our product that we're using for tracking students' interventions. I think we're going to be getting more mobile. We're going to be getting more mobile devices, and I think, you know, based on the trends I'm seeing with the projects this year, more people are going to be wanting those kind of response systems, so they can get that immediate response of the whole class, where everyone is, get that understanding of where they are after the lesson's over.
Like the clicker system?
Yeah.
I have a few questions. I found your whittles. I was wondering if there was a pronunciation of that acronym. But in your individual school needs, for each one, you mentioned that, you know, the Miller Driscoll students need to be prepared
The
to go to
transition,
site for all the
absolutely.
transitions. Where can I find, if it exists, you know, how that's outlined, that these are the skills we want the Miller Driscoll kids to have to go to Cider Mill and so forth?
That's actually sort of a work in progress. There's
Okay.
a kind of an expanded Whittles form where, and again, it's a very, very rough draft where we've been trying to outline, well, what does that look like when in first grade, like
Right.
what in terms of, you know, standard 1A.
Right.
Well, what would success be? And so we've kind of mapped that out, and with that piece we have. What we haven't got, and I think this is going to be where curriculum mapping will come in, is where does it come in the curriculum? So we do have that. I can get that to you.
Okay. The other thing, I hear a lot about professional development and staff training, and that's all wonderful for existing staff, and I guess maybe this is a question to Ellen as well, is as we implement all of this new technology and whatever, how are we adjusting our job descriptions for what we expect of our teachers, especially as it relates to new hires? You know, that some of these skills, we would hope that we're hiring these skills rather than having to teach these skills once they're here.
Well, not every district teachers might come from have the same level of technology we have. They might even have more. It could be either end of the spectrum.
True.
And Matt does an orientation DVD for all new teachers when they come in with all their introductory work that he does in new teacher orientation with them every August, so that people at least have a level start when they come in.
And the instructional leaders really do a terrific job of going that first week and seeking out those new staff members and making sure that they get up to speed quickly. Because if you've never used Power Teacher Gradebook, you know, you can go on the online help menus and work it out, but it's nice to have. You know.
Thanks, Matt. I think you all know Sean O'Toole, our supervisor of custodial and maintenance services. I'm going to run through the presentation, and we'll together we'll take your questions. First of all, I want to start with the Board of Education's budget assumptions that you folks voted on a couple of meetings ago. And I won't read the whole thing, but I'll point out one phrase that we assume that our budget is going to provide for necessary maintenance and improvements of school facilities. And with that, a little history in what we've spent in the past. In 2005-06, we spent a little under $192,000, and the 2 years prior to that, we spent in the same area. Historically, we try to keep that account at about $500,000. That's what we figure we need to keep up with the buildings properly and move things along. And you can see, for a 3-year span there, we caught up a little bit and made some gains, which is very good. And then when the recession hit, we had to drop back down again. In 09-10, our actual was $254,000. Last year was $238,000, and we've got $230,000 budgeted for this year. So that's 3 low years in a row. So you can imagine that's created a little bit of with pent-up demand, which you see on the site plan, and you have a copy of this in front of you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through in a little bit of detail the plans that we have, or the projects we have planned for 12-13 that'll be in the current budget, and then I'll talk a little bit about the rest of the plan after that. So in Miller Driscoll, the only thing we have on the plan right now for the operating budget is the gym dividers. And in this picture, they look just fine when they're closed. The problem is that they are nearly inoperable. The hinges and latches don't work very well anymore. And how old are they, Sean? About 23 years old. 23 years old. Can't get parts for them anymore. And we've actually restricted everybody except our custodians from operating them for fear that if somebody doesn't know what they're doing or doesn't know that they don't work so well, that they may end up.
The system is stack. Thank you. I'll find it.
In Cider Middle School, we have a ceiling tile replacement project that's actually been on the plan for a number of years. The tiles over the years have gotten, some have gotten damaged, some have gotten stained. The problem with them is that they are a odd size and we cannot get replacements. So we have a multi-year project on the plan to go in and regrid the certain hallways and rooms and just replace them all. The next project is to reinsulate the roof ductwork, which we began last summer. And the problem with the ductwork is the insulation is failing, water's getting inside, and it gets trapped inside, and if left alone, it would corrode the ductwork. So here you can see this one here, pieces of the insulation are falling down, and we've been holding it together with tape and caulking, which you can only do for so long.
Sean's real name is MacGyver, right?
And like I said, we did some of the work last summer, and that's what it looks like when it's done properly. So we want to continue to finish off that plan this year. And also we want to start a project of carpet and tile replacement in the lower levels of Cider Mill School. Some of the areas are on the damp side, and what we'd like to do is remove the carpeting and replace it with tile. We think long-term, if you leave the carpet in some of those areas long-term, it could create a mold or health issue. So we want to get a jump on that and replace that. In Middlebrook, we've had this item on the plan for a number of years. Replace the seating in the auditorium. You can see we don't really have any pictures of the fabric tearing a little bit here. Some of the backs are coming apart, and other areas are separating. A lot of the seats are inoperable, and they need to be changed out. The band room needs to be renovated, and that consists of creating storage areas for the musical instruments. All we have in there right now is the shelving, so there are instruments all over the floor. Floor tiles need to be replaced, and the doorway needs to be widened because not all of the instruments will actually fit in the room.
Fit into the band.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've started replacing carpet and tiles already in Middlebrook, and we want to continue that project for the same reasons. And we've got security measures on the plan for this year, and this would be the installation of cameras. And we've got a picture of the front entrance here to kind of explain how we've gone so far with our project. You remember several years ago, we began by installing access control systems where we have the card readers now, so employees can get in and out of the buildings, and the doors are locked. A couple of years ago, we installed a security booth here in the front, so that somebody will be there, campus supervisor is there to check people in with the visitor management system, make sure they get run through the sex offender database, and we know who's in the buildings at all times. The next phase is what we did, same thing we did here at the high school last summer, is to install cameras. So we'll install them overlooking the front entrance, overlooking the bus loop, overlooking the rear entrances, cafeterias, front lobby, high traffic areas, the same as we did at the high school. And eventually we plan on continuing that to all the other schools, but we have the middle school on the plan for this coming year.
Where's the monitor? Like, who's watching this? Where's the monitor sit?
It's not designed to, it can be monitored live, but it's not really designed for that.
So just
that purpose.
videotaping, or what
It
is
does
it doing?
tape. It's digital and it stores it for about 2 weeks. And we've already used the system at the high school a couple of times already, investigating after the fact.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'd really have to hire somebody to monitor
Right.
them all the time, and you don't have those kind of resources. But it's good if you need to go back and, verify somebody's story or see where somebody's been.
Give parents the web address there.
At the high school, we want to continue our refurbishment of classrooms, and this will consist of a couple different phases. One of them will be to finish off the art rooms, and that's a vintage storage cabinet in the high school that the doors probably don't even operate correctly anymore, and they're not even. So we need to replace those with, oops, wrong one. With up-to-date cabinets that actually work. In addition to that, we want to start up on the 3rd floor in some of the older rooms, changing out furniture, fixtures, and desks. And this will be a project that will be ongoing for a number of years. In the field house, we want to get gym dividers, which would allow us to create more teaching spaces within the field house, separate the kids. We want to continue our project of replacing classroom doors. The original 40-year-old doors have knobs and no windows and don't meet codes anymore. The new doors have latches and have a window, and they have an automatic closer. All those elements are required by building codes now. So we want to go through the building and change them all out. And then finally, at the district-wide, and Matt touched on it, the Yankee Gas project. If gas lines are brought up to our schools, we really have to seriously look into converting from oil heat to gas heat. It would be cheaper, it's more efficient, and it's cleaner. But to do that, you can't just plug into the line when they run it by your building. We need to have somebody come in and study how we make that conversion with our boilers. Do we just change the burners, which is what we probably would do at the high school? Those boilers are newer. Or at some of the other schools, it might make sense to actually change out the entire boiler and put in a new system. But we really need to have an engineer who knows what they're looking at come in and study all of our buildings. We don't have a dollar amount for that yet. I do have a placeholder on here. We're hoping to actually get a dollar amount from the gentleman within the next few weeks. So as we move forward in the budget process, we'll have something on there.
Would that be something we would do in conjunction with the town with respect to their considering perhaps the library, the town hall, the Comstock, and converting them to gas if it becomes available?
I think he's going to be looking at Comstock also, right?
Comstock and the library is going to look at it.
So that's where the gas line is going to go immediately. So I will touch on the rest of the products, and then we'll take questions on this, and then we'll talk about the capital bonded program. At Miller Driscoll, again, and the Miller Driscoll projects are all a little bit up in the air depending on what decisions are made with the capital bonding project. But assuming things stay the way they are, the 4 things we think we need to do sooner rather than later are, like the other schools, carpet and tile replacement, in some of the areas that might be more susceptible to mold. We want to change that out. Playground equipment, we think we need to update some of the playground equipment. But again, that's something we're reluctant to do now before anything's decided on the grounds up there. Security measures, again, it would be expanding the camera program to that school. And then the clock system, as Cheryl can probably attest to, is quite in need of replacing. But again, that's something that if we get through a maintenance project on the bonded program, that would probably be included in that. At Cider Mill, aside from the ceiling tile and carpet replacement, we have the security measures. Again, that would be the cameras. The same strategy at those schools where we would do the exteriors of the building and the high traffic areas or any potential problem areas. At Middlebrook, a project that has been on for a number of years to put air conditioning in the auditorium, and that's a space that's used on a daily basis for teaching. And as you know, if you've been there late in the year or early in the year, when the room is full, it gets quite warm in there. So we're hoping eventually to be able to do that. The Family and Consumer Science rooms renovation, that's been deferred again, possibly because of if we're going to be doing any programmatic changes we don't know about. But that's a vintage 1970s kitchen space with failing cabinets and cracked floor tiles. In a few years, we will want to replace the unit ventilators on 7 Green, and we really put that on the radar because they're getting to be about 20 years old, which is when they would start to give us problems and near the end of their useful life. So we wanted to get it on the radar. And something else that just popped up recently, the grease trap, which is related to the kitchen, the cafeteria, does not meet code anymore. It needs to be updated. So we'll put that on the plan for next year.
And I noticed that bathrooms aren't even mentioned here for Middlebrook.
We'll be getting to that in the capital bond.
Oh, okay. All righty.
In the high school, we've deferred a number of projects again. Overhead mat storage in the field house will allow us to get the mats up off the floor, so it creates a little more space and less risk of anything happening to them. Repaving the main driveway, we've moved that out a year. One reason for that is we're not sure if and when the gas line comes through, if it's going to be coming through our main drive, so it doesn't make any sense to repave it now. Although we would like to, because if you've driven on it lately or walked across it, there are plenty of potholes and bumps, and it's quite hard on our plow trucks in the winter, among other things. We'd also like to paint the field house, and that's the section, correct me, Sean, above the bleacher line.
Yeah.
And that's about a $70,000 project. And then finally, we want to continue or complete the security measures, which would be complete the camera deployment in the high school. We did put a number of them here over the summer, but there are still a number of areas up on the 3rd floor and outside of some stairwells and some restrooms where there are still potential issues. We want to complete that coverage. So that's the operating budget site work plan. So why don't we come up and we'll take any questions about that plan, and then I'll talk a little bit about the capital bonded plan.
And I can't remember, and Sean, I can't remember if the number on the parking lot or the driveway paving, did that also include, and we've shown pictures before in previous years of the Board of Ed lot, which is getting very bad, and the Clune Center, parts of the Clune Center lot. So those are not.
That dollar amount is essentially from Catalpa through the loop to Route 7. Board of Ed lot, the Clune lot, and in particular the North lot is worse, to be honest with you. And they need to get on, they will need to get in there at some point to work on it.
So right now, the high school is the only school with secure with cameras?
Yes.
But the plan is to eventually have them
Yes.
in all.
Every
That's
school.
pretty much the most expensive things that we're looking at down the road.
Yeah.
My math is right, full implementation of that is $385,000.
Sounds about right. That's not counting what we've already spent.
Right. And what do you figure you've already spent?
About 120.
On the replacing the clock system at Miller Driscoll, does that also include replacing the PA system that's failing?
PA system we brought back up to speed again, and we have it working better than about 96% of the time it's up and running. The issue with the clock system is that a lot of the wiring is original. And to put in order to pull the wiring, it's just going to be...
The principal is shaking her head.
Shaking her head. The issue is with the wiring. To pull the wiring through the building is going to be hugely expensive. So it's one of them things that we're trying to work through until we know which way we're going with the project. It's going to be very labor intensive to rewire the building essentially.
How much did we spend last year in maintenance overall, including the air conditioner that we put in right at the end of the year?
There's a chiller unit at Cider Mill.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah,
our budget year this
year. 230. 230,000.
238 is for this year, right?
No.
No.
That was just on projects on that.
Okay.
On that.
But we did spend extra money at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Right.
We did some work on the art rooms and.
Right.
So we had what,
HVAC.
220 last year or something, 225?
Budgeted?
Yeah.
I think it was even less than that. It was like 130 or something.
And then we added the chiller and the art
Chiller, we
rooms.
had extra money for the security system also.
And the art rooms. When the time comes, it'll be interesting to see those numbers. What do you think is the absolute we've got to do it right away on here? I mean, I know we need to do it all, but the worst case is it the duct work with the duct tape on it?
That would be my
opinion. That's essential.
Yeah,
because that really is.
Just lead to
and the grease trap.
a bigger issue.
That sounds like
that's the next year.
That's been deferred a year already.
Okay.
I think I'd want to do the duct work, and probably some of the carpet and tile replacement.
I'm sorry.
Duct work and carpet and tile replacement, and if possible, keep the security project moving along. That's going to be long enough.
And I think that the Miller Driscoll, the door dividers, did you mention those?
The gym dividers.
That's pretty basic because that facility is used so much and it's just operationally, we need to have that done.
What kind of instrument doesn't fit through the door?
Some of the drums don't fit through it. Some of the big bass drums don't fit through it. They need to take them out, the exit door to the exterior, and then bring them back in through the main door.
Okay, that seems wrong.
Was it designed to be a band room?
It was designed to be a band room. And
bigger drums in.
Didn't play the drums in.
Yeah. It's been that way, I think, essentially since the last renovation in '98.
Right.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other questions? That's wonderful. Thank you very much. Mr. Canty. Oh, sorry.
Can't move us along that way.
Thank you.
One more slide. No more pictures, though. 2 items on the plan for the coming year. The Miller Driscoll project, and I put this up here. The range of options that have been explored, ranging from just doing the maintenance project to doing a new school, are roughly $18 to $40 million. Regardless of which direction we go, the steering committee or the board will need additional design funds. Because once the project scope is selected, the architects and the construction company will have to put together the specs for the project and bring it to a point where they develop a real budget that we can actually take to the town for a vote within a couple of years. So we estimate that that's about $200,000 that we'll need for that work. In addition to the possibility of a small addition to accommodate the preschool, the major maintenance projects that I've listed here are a sprinkler system. You may or may not know that the Miller Driscoll is the only school building in the district that is not sprinkler right now. And any other major project we do where we have to open up walls or anything like that, we will be required to install a sprinkler system, which is quite costly. The HVAC systems, I originally was going to tell you that most of them were about 20 years old, and then Sean reminded me that some of them are actually original to the building, which would make them about 40 years old. So obviously we need some major replacements there. The exterior windows are almost all original, single pane, inefficient, and you can tell that if you've ever walked through the large hallways in the winter. The steel siding needs to be replaced. I think Matt talked about that before, the siding around the roof with it's corroding and has led to a lot of problems. The roof and skylights need to be replaced. Sean recently had all of the roofs evaluated, and the Miller Driscoll roof got pretty poor marks. It's frequently springing leaks and needs to be repaired and patched often. And the roof and the siding are projects that are connected because they are structurally connected to each other, so you can't do one without the other. And then finally, asbestos remediation and removal. There is asbestos throughout the building, in drywall compound, in vinyl asbestos tiles, and it's okay if it's not disturbed, but any of these major projects that we do will disturb asbestos, so it has to be remediated and removed. And that can't be done, by the way, when the kids are in the building, or at least in that area. So that's a very expensive project to do also. So that's the kind of a snapshot of the Miller Driscoll project. You see oil tank replacement on the plan in all of the schools. Our tanks are all 20 years old or more, or will be by these years, and we are required to remove them from the ground. The question really pops up now: are we going to be replacing them or just removing them if we convert over to gas? So, not sure what the cost difference would be. So, since none of them are on the plan for the coming year, we've left the dollar amounts up there, and hopefully we'll get a better idea of that after we get that study done, and we can amend this plan accordingly. The other plan we have on for this year is the roof at Middlebrook, and again that was recently assessed. It's the entire original building except for the auditorium, and again that's a roof that we've over the years had to do more and more repair and patchwork on. So it's over 20 years old and in need of replacing. Next we have the restroom renovation both at the high school and at Middlebrook, on for 2013, 2014. Many of them are original to the building, 40 years old or so, not up to code anymore. In many cases, at least in the high school, I don't know if it's the same in the Middlebrook, Sean, the plumbing is inaccessible, so walls will actually have to be broken down and broken into, and then when it's redone, it has to be made accessible. So it's more than just pulling down the tile in your bathroom and retiling. It's quite an extensive project, and we're estimating about $1,300,000 for both schools combined. And then several years from now, we will have to replace the chillers at Middlebrook. They're still functioning okay right now, but again, they're reaching the end of their useful life, and we want to get on the radar. Frequently with projects like that, we put it on the plan, and as the years go by, and if they're still holding up okay, we have a maintenance contract on it now. It's likely that can be pushed out if needed. And that's it. Take any questions you have about this plan.
Do you have any good news?
Yes. Is there anything in Miller Driscoll that has to be done next year? In other words, we've got everything in there and we haven't made a decision yet, and it's likely to.
It's just going to be, I mean, the roof really needs to be done, but again, until we know what the project is going to look like, it doesn't make any sense to do it. We're going to need to build some extra money into our maintenance budget for the roof to keep it going, and that'll, maybe $50,000 or so for the next couple of years, and it may grow beyond that if it's still left.
So that's mostly for patching.
Patching, skylights are failing.
Are failing now. We've had 2 of them fail, and the roof audit, it's saying essentially that we're probably going to have 2 or 3 more from go over the next year to 18 months. So we need to at least make them watertight, and then They're estimating the $4,000 to $5,000 per month we should be carrying for repairs on the roof, on that roof, the entire roof.
How did the roof do during the recent snowstorm and also during Irene?
There's been leaks, yeah. There's leaks.
Every rainstorm.
Every rainstorm.
Nodding your head.
Yes.
Every rainstorm, there's leaks in the building.
I know it's going to sound editorial, but I find it fascinating that the town's emergency response center is our school in the worst condition.
Yes, it is.
It's got the generator.
Yeah, it's got the generator. Other questions?
Pretty straightforward.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Sean.
Now can I invite up Mr. Canty?